New Avalon is a massive new zone that is the beginning of brand new original content in Season of Discovery. It's our introduction into Phase 8, and it's chock full of a plethora of new content, lore, and mechanics that you may not even be aware of. And this is the beginning of a huge amount of content in Classic's future, so we're gonna deep dive into it. I'm gonna be covering 3 things: the zone and locations, the lore and story implications, and new mechanics and systems, and all 3 of these things are incredibly important to Season of Discovery. Now, when you look at this map of New Avalon, and you can see that they've actually added a lot of things. You have the initial location in Tears Fall, everybody is aware of it, it's been there for a long time, and then you have New Avalon. The southern half of New Avalon is exactly the same as it's always been, even in Wrath of the Lich King, where you come with the Death Knights and Archers and the Lich King, and you level the whole location, and you burn New Avalon down. That southern half is the same, but the northern half is very, very different. But we're going to cover New Avalon proper first, and then we're going to cover the new location in the northern half of New Avalon afterwards. Now, in the lower half, you have the regular things, the vineyard, the winery, you have the keep, you have the town hall, you have all these little huts, the blacksmith, a couple towers, you have what used to be a lighthouse is now a different building that was changed from old New Avalon, and the little dock in the south is no longer relevant or important in this context as of right now. I'm sure there'll be an NPC or a boat or something there. Now, to the east with the ocean, there are a metric plethora of boats, and I'm not sure what the purpose of all of these boats is, but there is a lot of them. The Scarlet fleet is here in full power, and remember in Wrath of the Lich King, the Scarlet sent a whole fleet to Northrend. They were doing a whole bunch of construction, building keeps and fortifications up in Northrend. But now we've gotten Tears Fall out of the way, and in Tears Fall, nothing has really changed. The raid entrance is actually outside, but I'll cover that later. And there is a purple Dalaran shield inside the cathedral in Tears Fall, which I will also cover later. But now that we've covered the basics, we go to the north, the new stuff. And this is where they've added an absolutely ginormous cathedral. The biggest in, I think, all the World of Warcraft. The retail may have something bigger, at least from the Scarlet perspective. In Classic, at least in the original world, this cathedral is absolutely ginormous. It's almost like 3 Scarlet monasteries put together, all connected into one ginormous building. Now, this new building doesn't actually have any NPCs or purpose as of yet. I'm sure there will be. As more data mining comes out, we'll figure that out. But on top of that, you have a mine. Now, this mine, it's nothing super new. That was there with the old stuff as well, except this one's not full of undead. It's not being sieged by Death Knights. It's just a mine for New Avalon. But in the middle area, where there used to be a full-on town that was, being sieged down, there is now actually a destroyed keep. This keep is actually the entrance to Hyjal from Cataclysm. So when you go through Death Whisper Gorge in Cataclysm, you get to Hyjal, and you have this broken gate there, this keep fortification, and this fortification is a remnant from Warcraft 3's campaign, where you as the humans, orcs, and night elves have to hold off Archimonde so Malfurion can get the wisp to destroy him. The fact that they imported that whole ruined keep building and placed it here in New Avalon, in northern New Avalon, makes me feel like this is a placeholder, but I'm not certain. And the reason I'm not certain is they've added a bunch of new things as well. They've added PvP towers from different locations, different things. They've taken a lot of different art pieces from different expansions, different themes, and rebuilt this new northern New Avalon. And based on the tower symbols and the fact that the gate is locked, I'm pretty sure this northern area is a PvP battleground. Now, whether this battleground is instanced or it's an open PvPvE event is debatable, but I'll cover that more in the video later on, as we're just talking about the location and the zone right now. Then you have the beach, the beachhead. There's, like I said, there's big fortifications and towers here with these big lighthouse-looking buildings and these big towers that you can, essentially ginormous telescopes. And then you also have a lighthouse all the way off the shore to the east, and this lighthouse almost looks like the island from Westfall, but I'm not really certain that they're the exact same, but they are very similar. Now, they've added a lot of new things to northern New Avalon here, and it makes me curious at what the purpose of this entire location is, because this is a lot of work. Now, keep in mind that the Classic devs were maybe a 15-person dev team, and even though they've grown in recent years, at least in recent months, it's still a small team. So the fact that they've done this in a span of give or take 3-ish months gives me a lot of hope now that they've gotten new creatives to build original content. I know this isn't as new, as awesome, as original some people would like, but this is an amazing first step considering this is the first major original new zone in Classic's history in a very, very long time. Keep in mind that the vanilla world has not gotten any updates since Cataclysm, and that was 2010. We are entering 2025, getting close to 2026 by the time we go back to Azeroth in Midnight. So this is a huge step in the right direction. And now that we've talked about the locations of New Avalon, we're going to actually talk about the lore and the NPCs in the raid itself and more. But we're going to start with the 8 bosses in the Scarlet Enclave and what that really means. So I'm going to list out the 8 bosses first. You have Balnazzar, Beatrix, Lillian Voss, the Beastmaster, Mason, Solastraza, Reborn Council, and Calderan. Now, all 8 of these people are interesting as bosses, but let's go down them in a chronological order in this context. The first boss is Balnazzar, and he's a recurring character. There's nothing really new about Balnazzar here. He's been in the game since Warcraft 3, that's when we met him for the first time, and essentially, it took 20 years, both in-game lore and story-wise, and IRL to finally be rid of his presence. So right now, Balnazzar being the opening boss makes the most sense. He possessed Saidan Dathrohan, the Grand Crusader of the Scarlet Crusade. We then go defeat him in Stratholme live side. Once we defeat him, he's gone, but then he comes back. So this time he's back again before he comes back the next time as a full-fledged boss. It makes sense, it's a fitting first boss. The second boss is Beatrix, and Beatrix is High General of the Scarlet Crusade. Now, she is a completely original character for the most part. She was introduced in Season of Discovery. There is no predecessor lore. There's no places you can pull her from. She is completely original. So all the lore in regards to Beatrix is tied to Season of Discovery. Now, High General does signify a very high rank in the Scarlet Crusade, so she's an important character. There's probably going to be lore and information about her once we actually get into New Avalon and they start releasing the quest lines and all the storylines in regards to New Avalon. And she's been introduced in the Naxxramas patch in Phase 7. Essentially, the Scarlet Crusade is working with everybody else to defeat Kel'Thuzad and Naxxramas, but Kel'Thuzad and Naxxramas has been defeated, which means she is now back to being an enemy with the rest of the Scarlet Crusade. The third boss, though, is Lillian Voss. And now many of you may know who she is, but may not know her original lore. And Lillian Voss is the daughter of a Scarlet Crusader. In fact, she is the daughter of High Priest Benedictus Voss, a high-ranking member of the Scarlet Crusade. And in her original storyline, she gets resurrected into undeath. She's very unhappy, she has trauma. I'm gonna read a couple quotes. "The world of the living may have turned its back on me, but I'm no damn scourge. Just go. You raised me to be a killer. How am I doing, Daddy? But wait, I remember now. You taught me when to kill the undead. So do you want me to kill myself, Daddy?" This is all dialogue from Lillian Voss in Cataclysm when she was really introduced for the first time. And in Vanilla, before she was killed and resurrected, she was a proud Scarlet Crusade member. So story-wise, everything really does line up. We, the adventurers, killed Lillian Voss, and then she was raised into undeath by the Forsaken. So we gave her her initial trauma and created the Lillian Voss that we know and love. And this is honestly a very fitting and authentic way to continue and bring about her storyline and character arc. It makes perfect sense. Now the fourth boss, Beastmaster. Now I'm pretty sure this is the tie-in to Houndmaster Loxy, except this is probably just a bigger, badder version of him. There is no lore about the Beastmaster here. He's a completely original character. A lot of the bosses in the Scarlet Enclave are original. We don't really know anything about the Beastmaster. I expect him to, like I said, be a bigger, badder version, more mounts, more NPC pets. He might be like a phase system and go to defeat wave 1 of dogs, wave 2 of tigers, wave 3 of dinosaurs, things of that nature. And the fifth boss, continuing on with the Beastmaster, Mason, is sadly someone that I do not have any information on. He's a brand new NPC. He's new to Classic and WoW in general. I assume there's maybe someone who's in charge of expansion and construction, aka Master Builder, Master Mason, but that's just a theory. So we're going to move on to the sixth boss, Solastraza. Solastraza is either a green dragon or a red dragon, but I'm putting more money on green dragon because her name sounds more green in this context. And Solastraza is very likely enslaved the green dragon or mind-controlled green dragon. There is one alternative in the fact that she's a very racist, pro-human green dragon, but that doesn't likely seem to be the case or make sense lore-wise. So Solastraza is very likely a mind-controlled dragon that we're going to have to defeat. I Again, brand new NPC. The PTR is still on the lock and key, so I don't have much information about her, except she keeps an eye on you and raid as one of her mechanics. Now, the 7th boss, the Reborn Council, is my favorite boss. I'm going to explain to you why. This is likely a combination of the most iconic but currently dead Scarlet NPCs. For example, Herod, Margraine, and my beloved Sally Whitemane. Now, the Scarlets are able to resurrect people. It's one of their key abilities. They keep resurrecting their previous members. Sally Whitemane resurrecting Margraine, for example. So we're going to get to see Sally Whitemane in high definition. We're going to get to see Herod and Margraine. We're going to get to see Herod's iconic gear drop again in higher definition with way more stats. Same thing with Sally Whitemane and same thing with Margraine. There's also a very small chance that the devs do the most based and amazing thing in existence and bring back Garithos as part of the Reborn Council. Likely they're not going to do that, and this is a council fight. There's nothing really special about it. The devs have been using council fights for about 20 years, give or take. It's one of their go-tos. They throw it in every other raid tier. 3 to 4 bosses, you defeat them one by one, or you defeat 2 at a time, or you got to drop them all to the low amount health and kill them all within a set time frame of each other. Now, the 8th and final boss is Calderan. And Calderan is another brand new NPC, but he's also the Scarlet Inquisitor. And he was added in Season of Discovery as well. We don't have much lore about him at all, and him being the final boss is interesting, but not really surprising considering the paranoia and the distrust the Scarlet Crusade has towards every other faction and race. But we don't know much about him or his lore, as there really isn't any at all, which gives the devs plenty of time to tie this all in together perfectly. So now that we've got the bosses out of the way, let's actually talk about the lore of New Avalon. And New Avalon was raised by the Lich King in Wrath of the Lich King. But this is about 6 years before that chronologically, and based on what the devs have said, whilst we are traveling and exploring, the world kept progressing as we did. When we went to Avalon, and then we went to Northrend, and then we went to Mr. Pandaria, and then we kept going and going, the world kept living and breathing and continuing without us being there to drive it. And this is one of those storylines that was happening whilst we were gone. And we, the adventurers now sieging New Avalon, are technically canon, but at the same time, we are 2 different branches of adventurers. Adventurer Group A went to Outland. Adventurer Group B is now sieging New Avalon. We are completely different heroes, which means we are no longer the main heroes, we are the side heroes. The main heroes are off in Outland prepping to defeat Illidan. We are in Azeroth dealing with Azeroth's problems. Now, this isn't an alternate timeline, at least not a Season of Discovery. This is just side stories that haven't been told yet. And that makes me curious to see the direction and future of Classic WoW in general, because it will show us a version of locations and lore that the retail devs have essentially skimmed over or outright skipped and ignored. Now, lore-wise, when I mentioned the ginormous cathedral to the north earlier, there is effectively no lore whatsoever of this location, completely and utterly zero. This cathedral is 100% new to Season of Discovery and Classic WoW completely. And there is no lore behind it aside from the fact that when Archers sieged New Avalon, erase whatever that cathedral was and use it as a staging ground for its operations. Much like everything north of New Avalon proper, this is all completely new and original locations that are as of now unnamed. Which brings me to the new mechanics and systems. As of right now in Phase 8, there is no PvP in New Avalon. That's right, there is a debuff called Armistice, meaning that the Horde and Alliance cannot fight each other whatsoever. That's not to say we can't fight anywhere in New Avalon, as Tiers 4 is not encapsulated in this, but it means that inside of New Avalon proper, no PvP. It's an uneasy truth. But that's not all, as past the gate separating New Avalon South and New Avalon North is the gate. And in New Avalon North, it's a PvP zone. And like I said, there's towers here, there's burning locations, a lot of places to hide and defend and hold. We'll see what this really translates into being. And we know that there is a PvP mount reward, so if this is a BG with a reputation, the exalted reward is the mount. Or if it's a BG with a currency, it'll probably take 10 to 30 hours of grinding to unlock enough currency to buy the Scarlet Steed with the horns and the glowing effect. On top of that, the large temple within Tears Fall, as I mentioned earlier, has a giant Dalaran purple shield around it, which means we the players cannot enter it, but NPCs can walk through there. So that purple shield is put in place so we can't look into it, we can't see into it, we can't bird's eye, we can't mage blink, we can't ghost run. There is no way to really look inside of that purple Dalaran barrier whatsoever. But as you can see, Scarlet NPCs can walk in and out. So I'm not sure what's actually in there, but the devs blocked it off on purpose to not show us what's in there, whether it's a world boss, a quest chain, NPCs, a safe zone, or anything of that nature. I expect to learn more within the next 2 to 3 weeks as we get closer to launch. This is also not the raid entrance, as the raid entrance to the Scarlet Enclave raid is in a cave southwest of Tears Fall, as I mentioned earlier. There's a small staging camp outside of Tears Fall where we'll be given the quest to unlock the attunement information and basic rewards in regards to the Scarlet Enclave and New Avalon. As a final mention, and I do want to mention this, we are getting sent to Hyjal to forge Ashbringer. Now, we have to go to the Well of Eternity to do this, and I'm not sure whether this is going to be the fully redone Hyjal, all done. I don't know if there's enough time to do that, or if this is an instance location of the Well of Eternity, where we go and do our quest and then we leave, where there's an invisible barrier blocking us from actually exploring the rest of Hyjal. Now, that's not to say we won't go back to Hyjal in the future. Maybe you can't actually finish Ashbringer till Phase 9, where Phase 9 is Hyjal, or anything in between, but there is a lot of content in the near future for us to explore and enjoy. In my opinion though, this is an instance location where you talk to somebody, they teleport you there, you kill a monster, you dip your Ashbringer, you purify it, and you get Ashbringer! I don't know. But nonetheless, this is all a huge amount of content and news, and I can't wait to learn more about Hyjal, Phase 9, and Classic Plus with everybody here. So if you liked this video, please like and subscribe. If you hated it, understandable. Dislike and subscribe so you can hit my next video too. Thank you all for watching. Ebonheart out. Peace.